He's got his own podcast and YouTube show. The man has more than 7.2 million subscribers. He is one of the preeminent conservative voices in the world, not just this country. And he's somebody that called me a jackass. He wanted to see his boy, your boy, as in me. Well, here I am. The Stephen A. Smith Show.
Okay, this does not make Stephen A. Smith look like a tough guy. Please get it together, Stephen A. Smith. Like, seriously, because, like, it just, that whole introduction of Stephen A. Smith with Ben Shapiro, they do clash. There is a clash and an argument that does happen here. Stephen A. Smith and Ben Shapiro do clash about this particular statement that Stephen A. Smith does make. But at the same time, Stephen A. Smith needs to stop, you know, trying to act like he's some tough guy here. Because it's like, and then he called me a jackass. It's like, bro, I would have just not even started with that. I don't care. But he's meeting up with Ben Shapiro. And I haven't covered Ben Shapiro in a while on this channel. But there's a lot going on at the Daily Wire. So we'll just go ahead and get into it.
Derek Chauvin, the officer most of us believe, and the courts clearly believe, initially went on Derek Chauvin, devout Jew, who is incredibly supportive of Israel and the Jewish community, things out in all the big-time sports action that's happening each and every day. The Stephen A. Smith Show.
With or who I've had on the show or vice versa. So, you know, you're in this business, you know.
I try to be incendiary. You called me a jackass. Shapiro Show. He recently made headlines by calling for Derek Chauvin, the former police officer who killed George Floyd, to be pardoned. So we're going to get right into that. Please welcome to the show the one and only Mr. Ben Shapiro. Ben, how are you, sir? How's everything?
Before he starts with his squeaky voice, let me make the disclaimer. Two things, please. Thank you for watching these videos. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and a notification bell. I don't believe that Derek Chauvin should have life in prison. I think that it should have at least, for all intents and purposes, been like a I would say manslaughter type of thing, because he did have his knee on his neck, yes, and the pressure does apply with the airway and the fentanyl. I'm a nurse and I'm telling you, okay, this isn't about woke and all that everybody always runs into. But that it doesn't mean that he woke up that morning and said, oh, where's George Floyd? I'm going to get him. I mean, I've always maintained that position. So, and so did Ben. So I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, I guess by now he would be, but I don't know.
Thank God, doing well, Stephen. How are you doing?
Okay, I want to ask, and I asked this affectionately. I'm not trying to be incendiary. You called me a jackass.
I don't know why my thing is like freezing. It's so annoying.
It's shockingly, the answer is probably a lot, actually, in terms of the number of people who I've called a jackass, who I've then actually become friendly with, or who I've had on the show, or vice versa. So, you know, you're in this business, you know it.
I got
you. Just shyster. You could never. All right, let me try to get through this, yo. Let me try to get through.
I got you. I'm not overly offended. Trust me on that, all right? But thank you for coming on the show. So let's get right into it. As you know, I spoke out against your petition to get President Trump to pardon former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. For those that don't know, Chauvin was sentenced to 22 years in prison after being convicted of unintentional second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter of George Floyd. I wondered if you would feel that way if the officer was black and the victim was Jewish. That was what I said, and your response was to call me a race baiter. Why is that, Ben Shapiro?
That's a very good question. Let's really get into it. Damn.
Well, to me, the entire case against Derek Chauvin was rooted in a sort of public racial essentialism that I thought was unnecessary to analyze the case. If I'm going to look at this case and just look at the facts of the case, the race of the person on the ground and the race of the officer are irrelevant, and we should treat it exactly the same, whether both people were black, both people are white, one person was Jewish, one person was not Jewish. The identity of the person on the ground, I think, should not be the deciding factor in whether or not Derek Chauvin was convicted of second-degree murder. It should be the situation, the facts of the case, the autopsy report, and all of the rest. And so the thing that I actually objected to was the suggestion that my opinion would have changed, rooted in the, say, racial or religious identity of the person who died, as opposed to the racial or religious identity of the person who was the police officer. I just don't think that that's how we ought to decide criminal justice cases in general.
In fairness to you, I can understand that in general. Damn it, in most instances, I can agree with that. But those are cases that we hear about. I'm talking about the visual impact. So let's stay right there, Ben. I am a black man, and I see this black man on the ground, face down, handcuffs behind him. Face is imprinted into the pavement. The knee of the police officer is on the back of his neck. He's literally saying he can't breathe, to one point crying for his mama. And it happens for over 9 minutes. I understand from a technical perspective, from a specific analytical perspective, forensic evidence, et cetera, fentanyl in the system, et cetera. I got all of that. My point is, and my question to you at that time was, seeing that, how could you have another opinion? How could it be based on the preponderance of evidence that you threw into the fray in order to ask for this man to be pardoned? I'm just going by, like, there are certain things that you just see, and 1 + 1 = 2.
So, I mean, Stephen, actually, if you go back to my tweets at the time, May 30th and June 1st, if you look at my tweets, I'm saying the same kind of things you're saying right now. I'm saying the same kind of things at that time that everybody else is saying, seeing the tape, because there's no way to look at the tape.
I saw that.
And not be sort of shocked by what you're seeing on the tape, obviously. And then I think that the mark of a reasonable person is...
So what happened here was, because he jumped to call him a race baiter and everything. And, the thing is, he jumped to call him a race baiter. He never answers to the point of why he called him a race baiter. He explains the mechanisms of the case, and he's going to go on to say that he felt some type of way when it happened, which he did. But it doesn't seem to me that Ben Shapiro explains himself. Now, let me go look to see, because sometimes I gotta go straight to a different source. Hold on.
Police officer Derek Chauvin, for those that don't know, Chauvin was sentenced to 22 years.
All right, so we already covered that part of the clip, and let me just see.
And so the thing that I actually objected to was the suggestion that my opinion would have changed, rooted in the, say, racial or religious identity of the person who died, as opposed to the racial or religious.
It would have. It would have, right? Let's be a little bit more honest about it, Ben. It would have changed. But it is an absolute waste of time of an argument for me to have. I'm not even going to waste my time with it because I can't prove that, right? And so we can always say, that no, you don't know that case, and this and that. So it's an absolute waste of time, so I'm not even going to go there, right? But believe me, Ben Shapiro is the same person who I have a clip of saying, you need to thank Jewish people for the Bible, okay? And that took me out. You know that took me out as a Christian, so let's not get too far into it. I want to see what he says about the Daily Wire firing of Jeremy Boring, because we don't even need to stay stuck on all of this. We could do this together. How long did they spend on this? They talk about the case.
And his intent, from the standpoint, you're having your knee on the back of Shapiro. And this is what I meant when I asked the question about you being, about if George Floyd was a Jewish person. I owe you an explanation for that. So I want to give it to you right now. You are known as a proud Jewish individual, incredibly supportive.
Okay, I don't even have, now you're talking about Jeff. Believe me, I'm not going to do the glazing of Ben Shapiro. Sorry, guys. If that's what y'all looking for here, you're definitely not going to get it here. I'm looking for the Jeremy Boring, and if I can't find
primarily instigated by the left.
Stories that tend to break into the news are ones with a black victim.
Community. I would never.
He doesn't talk about who runs the media. Okay.
And so, the relevance of lived experience.
So that seems to be counter to what you just articulated. You've got to go. I've got to go. I would love to further this conversation with you.
Okay, so they never get into it. That's fine because.
I mean, the truth is that Jeremy stepped down to pursue things like Pendragon, which is the single biggest, I think, entertainment offering ever put forward on the right side of the aisle, ever by a long stretch. People are
it's like a Game of Thrones series that you guys are
it's unbelievable.
Producing
it's
right
unbelievable.
Now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like high fantasy, Arthurian legend, 7 episodes at very high cost. I mean, it is a major, massive project, and he has to go and he has to edit that. We have to figure out exactly how we're going to market that. We have other creative projects that Jeremy is going to work on, that Jeremy wants to work on, and that Jeremy is involved with. And frankly, the day-to-day management of a very large and growing company was not, I think, in his view, conciliant with with that mission, which is for him to do more creative projects, to do more on the entertainment side. Frankly, I think for Jeremy, that's where a lot of his heart is as well. And so he wanted to put more focus in that as we mature as a company. As far as all of these sort of bizarre rumors that we're in serious trouble. Oh no, everything is bullshit. I mean, as somebody who looks at the balance sheet, I can tell you that is certainly not the case.
Yeah, Ben, I'm not worried about you. The Daily Wire. Believe me, I know that you have plenty of ways to keep that funded, Ben. I think you'll be perfectly fine. Look, if you want to know why I have a chip on my shoulder for Ben Shapiro, is because two things. First thing is that he uses Christians to get his message across. The whole bit about, I'm the reason why people went back to church. It's like, shut up. Okay? Christ is the reason why people went back to church, and Christ can come through any vessel, even you. That's number one. Number two, the freedom of speech thing, like, oh, I believe in freedom of speech. And I mean, there are countless freaking clips of him saying how much he believes in freedom of speech, just to go off and fire people for not being pro-Israel. Okay? This is America. This is not Israel. And I'm a Christian. Okay, so yeah, this guy's worked with 7 Days Adventists. Now there's this whole like Jewish 7 Days Adventist coalition thing going on. Just because we both go to I worship on Saturdays, that does not mean I'm Jewish. I don't know what this mixing of religion thing is going. So there's a lot going on there. And I just, he's a shifty guy to me, but he's still here, and it is what it is. So that was him shifting his way through that discussion with Stephen A. Smith, shifting his way. Very easy to do because Stephen started glazing him towards the end. I see you guys at the next one. Bye.